Welcome to the Disneyland with Kids podcast, where we help you plan your vacation in 30 minutes or less. All magic comes at a price, but that doesn't mean it has to be full price. Check out the deals that we've arranged for our listeners through our partners at Getaway Today by visiting disneylandwithkids.info/book. And we will see you at Disneyland. Now, let's get on with the show. On today's episode, we are dumping out our purses, backpacks, and fanny packs to reveal what is inside. What exactly is in our Disney park bag? A few of the items might even surprise you. I'm Becca from This Crazy Adventure Called Life.
And I'm Jessica from The Happiest Blog on Earth.
All right, Jessica, they say you should never go through a woman's purse, but today we are doing just that. We are going through our bags to let people know what we take for a day in the parks with our families. Between the two of us, we've probably visited dozens, if not 100 or more times, and I think that makes us experts on what to pack for a day in the parks. So Jessica, I'm a notorious overpacker and I want everything that I could possibly need in my bag. What would you consider your packing style?
Oh my goodness. I'd love to be one of those people that just walk right through security without a bag, but that's not me. Sometimes because of the nature of the job, I'm taking multiple bags and multiple outfits. It's ridiculous, but like on a day with my kids, it's usually a backpack and then like a smaller purse or bag. I've turned into a locker person as well.
Yeah, that no bag line is so tempting, but I just can't get rid of all the stuff that I'd have to go through it.
Yeah, and let me just say really quickly what the no bag line is. So when you're going through security on busier days, certain hours, there's a line that has a sign out front that says no bags, no strollers. If you have no bags or strollers, you can stroll right through there. And sometimes some of your party might have no bags and they can go through there and you can take your things through to get searched. So just keep an eye out for that if you do happen to come in a little more empty-handed.
Yeah, definitely. So to start, Jessica, let's talk about what kind of bag we are taking to the parks. I can take anything from a crossover purse, a crossbody purse, to a backpack, or even both, depending on who I am with and what am I doing that day, what I'm doing. How about you?
I always bring a backpack, and that has just kind of everything in it and extras. I'll usually stash that in a locker, and then my purse or on my person bag really depends on my outfit. You know how I like to do those things. But if I can do a fanny pack or a hip bag or whatever you are calling those things nowadays, I will do that because that is my favorite, to be completely hands-free and have everything in there. I love it. I love that they even have like the man style of those now, and I'm trying to get my son to use one. He's not quite there for it yet.
My twins love fanny packs. They think they're the most amazing thing. And one of them, I brought him one from Disneyland. They sell some there if you get there and you're like, I need my hands free. But it had so many pockets and he has it stuffed full of so much of just random things that he collects. It's so funny. He's 6. He doesn't have a phone, but for some reason he has a phone case and he has like all these things, and you would think he was going to Disneyland with the things that he has in it, but it's really cute.
That's super cute.
It makes me laugh. So I personally am not a fanny pack person, but I do take my crossover purse that has like a million zippers, and I can put so much stuff in it, and it can really weigh me down. But I love it, and it gets me through the day sometimes without having to get a locker. But there's nothing wrong with getting a locker, and we'll talk more about that in a little bit. But let's say there's people out there that are not like us, that want to be minimalists. What would you say are the top 5 things that people absolutely must have when they head to the parks?
Right. Well, we know that Disneyland is moving more towards electronics. Everything is accessible on your cell phone, so you're going to need that. You'll want to have the Disneyland app downloaded and have your tickets uploaded into the app. You're going to be using your phone a lot, and we'll cover more on that in a bit. But on that note, an external phone charger is absolutely necessary, and don't forget the charging cord. Now, Becca, I showed you a little something a few weeks ago. I got this charging cord that is a
Mm-hmm.
bracelet, and
Yes.
it worked, and I've used it on like 3 or 4 trips since, and I loved it. I found it at Five Below. I don't know if everyone has that store or if you can just look online for a charging cord that's a bracelet. It comes in so handy.
That, yeah, it looked awesome. I'm pretty jealous of it. Okay, so I think we're at like three. What are your other two
Okay,
things you're going to
couple
need
other
before
things.
spring?
Credit card.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna need that to buy everything that you see because you're gonna love it all. Your ID and sunscreen. Always
Okay.
sunscreen, even if it's
Yeah.
overcast, you're gonna want to use that throughout the day. I usually have a little bottle on me at all times, but if I'm going with the family and bringing a bigger bag, I'm gonna bring a bigger thing of sunscreen.
I think those are all great. So my top five, I think I have some overlap with you, like the phone with the Disneyland app, but I'd also have like a reusable water bottle because you don't want to spend money on water. They give out free ice waters, and there's refill stations almost everywhere now. The money, sunscreen, but I would also say Dramamine because I get motion sickness. And if anyone hasn't listened to our episode about getting sick at Disneyland, you and I did a great one and we talked about motion sickness in there. So definitely go check that out. But yeah, Dramamine's a must for me. And of course, right now we have one other must take item that hopefully won't be around forever, but that is a mask because masking is currently still required indoors, regardless of your vaccination status. Now, Jessica, let's say we're going with younger kids. Your kids are all getting older, but I still have 6 year olds, and a lot of our listeners have little kids. What are some extras you might be packing for them if you like? I know sometimes you take your nephew and he's younger. So what are your must-haves then?
Yes, I took my nephew and I actually put his binky in the locker, and he is like a binky boy. And he's like, "But where's my binky?" And I was like, "Oh, dang it. Yes, let's get you a lollipop instead." But anyways, I've been bringing the kids to Disneyland since they were babies. And there are a few things that you might not think about when you're packing up the diaper bag. Of course, the usual diapers and wipes, but disposable bibs are super awesome. You can wear disposable bibs to protect their outfits and then just toss it in the trash afterwards instead of carrying around a bib that has all this food and mush all over it.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen those table protectors? That's another thing that's really cool. They just attach right to the table. It's a plastic kind of sticky placemat.
Mm-hmm.
And then they can play and eat right off the table and drool and do all the things and easy cleanup again.
Yeah, my we used those with my kids when they were little, and it was great. And sometimes I feel like they still need them because I still have to remind them, don't put your food on the table. I mean, we know Disney cleans pretty good, but it's still like, don't put your food on the table.
Yes, and snacks are super important for everyone. We tend to bring a ton of snacks and then let the kids pick out a few to bring each day.
Hmm.
So things like granola bars and crackers, and just having something there quick and easy to avoid a meltdown. And, lollipops, like I mentioned, are always helpful. We do the little dum-dums so that it's like they can finish it quickly instead of those giant ones at Disneyland that
Yes.
will never get finished.
Yeah, and then you have this sticky thing that you like have to find somewhere to put it because they'll be sad if you throw it away. Yeah.
Totally. So let's just add on that baggies are really nice to bring into the
Hmm.
parks.
Yes.
For whatever reasons. Small things like little toys from a dollar section or something that's not like special, but that can keep them busy. Electronics also as they get older, but I don't know, tend to stay away from anything that could get like lost or broken. But if they have their phones or devices that they usually carry with them, that's usually good as they get older.
Yeah. And so spoiler alert, not always does the podcast go as planned. And I tried recording this with Julie and there were technical issues, so we didn't get to use that episode, but she mentioned the world or the Disney I Found It card game, and my kids get this like every year someone gives us one for Christmas, which is great because my kids use it so much that it gets worn. And so we always are ready for a new one every year. Anyway, so if you're listening and you're one of those people, don't fret. Like, we like getting a new one every year. But they're great because they're just little card games, and you just like look on your card for things that, and that says will be on there on another card. So that's a great one to get as well. But one thing I'm shocked you didn't put on there on your list is extra clothes, because
Yes.
when they're little, especially babies and newly potty trained, but even like my 6 year olds and my 11-year-old, extra clothes, a whole extra outfit in a Ziploc bag so you have somewhere to put the dirty outfit. So I put them, before it was quart size bags, now we're kind of up to gallon size bags, a full extra outfit, because I have had to purchase a full outfit from Disneyland before, and that was not cheap. Like, that was
Oh my goodness.
expensive. And that's definitely a must. And then, but of course, there are clothes in Disneyland you can purchase. At least have underwear though, because they don't have extras of those. And, you can also buy diapers from the baby center if you forget. So I think that's important to note that when they're babies, if you forget the diapers or the wipes, you're not SOL. They do sell them.
Mm-hmm.
They're the most expensive diapers you'll probably ever purchase, and the most magical, but the most expensive. So try not to forget them, but they are there if you need them.
So it's kind of interesting, kind of in the same sphere. But yeah, you will have to pay for diapers, but in all the restrooms, they do have sanitary options for women, and those are
Hmm.
free.
Yes,
So
they're
that's
free now.
really
Yeah.
good to know.
Yeah. Okay, Jessica, I think it's important. Like, we've talked about these little kids and the things that they're going to need. And I think as kids get older and they become teens, like your kids are becoming and are, I think we have to assume that, we can just pack super light and not need anything. And while it's partially true, you definitely still need to think about a few things to bring. So tell me what you're making sure to bring to the parks with your tweens and teens.
The girls like to have their own little backpack and like the mini style, like Minnie Mouse and small in mini, both
Mm-hmm.
versions. Backpacks are so popular. And so the girls like having those where they can carry some of their own things. And I mentioned that they grab snacks in the morning. So my son uses one of those cinch bags. Getaway Today, our ticket partner, used to send those out to customers. And I think you can still get those on request, especially if you've booked a hotel with your tickets. They might have those at the hotel. Those are really great. My son likes throwing things in that and keeping things lightweight, bringing that along. Bottled water, sunglasses, a hat. I also like to give my kids Disney gift cards for quick things that they want to get. Like if we're walking by a cart and they're like, oh, I really want a drink, like a special drink, soda or
Mm-hmm.
something other than water, or I want some popcorn, and we're kind of not stopping for a huge break. They
Mm-hmm.
each get their own Disney gift cards that they can just use to buy stuff like that.
That's a great idea. Or at least some cash that you can give them is good too. But I like the idea of a Disney gift card, or even a Visa gift card. You know how you can buy gift
Right.
cards that are Visa now, just so that it's not a bunch of cash that they could lose. That's really nice. And with the Disney gift cards, you can also manage them on the Disney gift card website. So let's say um, we had a moderator in the Disneyland Kids Facebook group that said she'd always bring one that was used up, so that if something happened to the one they were using, which she'd already load them onto the site, she could quickly transfer the balance to the other one. And I thought
Ooh.
that was a great idea, especially if you have kids that tend to leave things places, or adults that tend to leave things places, so that you don't have to worry about losing that money, especially if you're putting a good amount on there.
Yeah,
So,
that's really smart. And at the end of our trip, if any kid has money left over on their gift card, then I start collecting those and using them to pay off things that we're buying and meals. Because for us, the gift card isn't their spending money. It's just like if you need something right
mhm,
then, you can get it, or if they go off, but it's not like this is your only money and your souvenir money.
yeah.
So it belongs to me. The money is mine, but they are permitted to use it. I also allow them to log into my Disney account so that if we are separated, they could order a meal if they need to. And that's like a permission based thing. Like I tell them before they leave, okay, we're not going to be together for lunch, so you can order it through the Disneyland app and charge my card on there. So that's kind of a special privilege.
That's cool. I'm taking note of this. My oldest is about the same age as your youngest, and they're tweens. But my oldest tends to think he's an adult and
Yes.
that he should get to do everything the adults do. But we are starting to let him kind of wander on his own. And so, speaking of that, and then with the Disneyland app, one thing I think is super important is as you start letting your kids roam the parks a little and step away from you, is having a way to communicate with them. So that could mean a cell phone if they have that, or like on a recent trip, your youngest came along. She had an iPod. You guys could text because you both have Apple devices. And there's other devices that you can get, like the Facebook Messenger app or something, so you can connect with them while they're in the park if you guys are separated or if you let them go off on their own. So I think that's a really smart thing to have when you are heading with older kids that you think you might let separate from you. So moving on, let's talk about the other things that we bring to the parks with us. And right now, as we mentioned just a minute ago and earlier, technology is becoming super important in the parks. And so one thing people want to be sure to bring is a backup battery pack, whether that's a fuel rod you can switch in and out, or another brand. So what's your like how do you pack for the recharging?
Yeah, right now we bring four different external phone chargers, and I have the bracelet cord, and my son also has a bracelet cord because he's the one that tends to need to charge his device more than
Hmm.
others. Little Pokemon Go while we're at Disneyland. But
Yeah.
a great idea is to plug those in during sit down meals. You're
Yeah.
sitting down and having lunch, whether you're doing a quick service or not, just get everyone plugged in at the same time. And if you have a fuel rod, you can swap those at different kiosks throughout Disneyland. So that means you'll get like a fully charged battery pack ready to go and keep your phone charged throughout the day. As I mentioned earlier, the Disneyland app is a big part of your day. So you're going to be accessing your park tickets on your phone. You'll be placing mobile orders for food, getting PhotoPass images, and pretty soon we're going to be planning out our days with Disney Genie. So be sure to catch up on past episodes of Disneyland with Kids podcast for more details on each of those things.
Definitely. So, Jessica, we've covered the basics, but you and we are pros at going to the parks, and we know that there are a lot of things that maybe aren't necessary, but are nice to have on hand. So, I'm going to ask you, what are some of in your experience, items you like to put in your bag?
Anything over the counter medications, Tylenol, ibuprofen, whatever you like. And you mentioned the Dramamine. I actually keep that in my bag as well. And something that you know that I always bring, I bring a travel toothbrush and toothpaste because I'm eating so much junk and I just like to feel freshened up every once in a while. I don't bring it for everyone. Like my kids, they can be kids and have sugar all over their teeth, but I'm like, eh. A lot of people like to bring noise canceling headphones for their kids
Hmm.
as well, and band-aids and other
Yeah.
things for blisters, but it's okay if you forget because they have them at the first aid center, and I've
Yeah.
had to use those a few times. You're
Oh,
gonna want hair things. So whether you use
yes.
clips or elastic hair bands, you need those.
Even if you
Um,
normally wear your hair down, or like mine
yes,
right now, it's too short to put all of my hair in a ponytail, but sometimes just getting half your hair up or whatever. Yeah, just have them. And they're good for other things too. Like something happens to your pants button, like sometimes you can
exactly.
MacGyver something there. So definitely agree with that one.
And I'm also bringing gum because they don't sell it in the parks, and the breath mints that they have there just don't cut it. Like they're totally weak. I like to chew gum anyways. What about you, Becca?
Okay, so all of the above. And then, I also bring, when I again talked to Julie, but we had technical issues, she mentioned antacids because she eats heavier foods. And so she doesn't want to get heartburn. And I told her, yeah, and you might also want to bring the other option, which is Imodium, in case food affects you the other way.
Hmm.
Oh, but one thing I've learned for me is I need some sort of fan. So they sell these cute accordion fans, the ones when you flip them open, they do that and and you fan yourself with them. So I've bought some of those in the park and I like to carry those around and then cooling towels. And so I have arthritis from psoriasis, and so my ankles, I like to put the cooling towels on my ankles where I get flare ups, and it really helps there when I wet those and put them on my ankles. And then I also like to pack eye drops because I wear contacts and we're at the park for a long time. And like some rides, I don't know if this happens to you, but Pirates of the Caribbean, the scene with the battleships and the cannons, and there's that fog, it always seems to like make my contacts wig out. And so I just need the re-wetting drops. And then, like you mentioned, there's the band-aids, but I also, or some people bring moleskin. I like liquid band-aid because as soon as you start to feel somewhere that your shoes are rubbing, you just put a couple layers of liquid band-aid on, and then it's waterproof. It won't come off like the band-aids or moleskin when you go on water rides. So that one is a big one for me.
Ooh, I'm gonna have to get some of that.
Okay, so now that we know what we are bringing and what are some things you think people should leave at home? Because a lot of people bring too much, and I've been guilty of this before, but there are things we just don't need.
Definitely. Okay, little kids, they have like their favorite toy or something that they think has to come everywhere with them. When I was a kid, it was my Cabbage Patch dolls, and it was multiple.
Yeah.
So those came with me everywhere, but your kids are going to maybe want that doll or that lightsaber for like 2 seconds, and then they're done with it. Guess who gets to hold it all day? Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the parent. So certain things just don't come with us into the parks, and certain things don't come with us on vacation either, especially very special things. And I know that's tricky to separate, but we have lost things and then had to pay those crazy shipping prices for the hotels to send it back.
Or they
So
don't
I would
find
leave
it.
any
Yeah.
special things at home and maybe look for a new special thing to purchase at the end of the day. What do you
Yeah.
think people should leave?
Definitely. So before I get to my thing, I want to touch on that just a minute because we had this g- like giant Mickey Mouse and a medium-sized Mickey Mouse. Both have gotten lost. And my son, like, he had his three Mickeys, big Mickey, medium Mickey, and little Mickey. And they got lost in hotels. So not little Mickey survived. But we tell kids don't bring your special item, and so we have like other stuffed animals that aren't as special to them and stuff, and they get to pick one of those to be their travel buddy.
That's a good
and
idea.
and we explain to them, I mean, kids can understand if you tell them we don't want to accidentally leave them somewhere, or so if you explain it to them, they usually do pretty good. But another thing that I think people should leave at home is the big DSLR camera. Now, there are some people, like you're a professional photographer or you really use your DSLR and you don't have a great phone camera. Yeah, you might want to bring it. But I mean, this is my job, and I've even started leaving the DSLR at home or at least at the hotel because I know I can get great photos on my phone. They've come so far. You have amazing phone cameras now, and it's just so big to lug around, and like you have to take it on the rides if you have it with you because that's not something you want to leave in a stroller or anything like that. So yeah, just leave it at home. Just use your phone and PhotoPass.
Yeah, and that's when we get asked a lot in the Disneyland with Kids Facebook group about bringing those big cameras. So, good tip.
So let's touch a bit on those of us who want to save money and bring food into the parks. And I have an article that I will link in the show notes all about bringing food and stuff like that. Whether it's, bringing a cooler, or maybe you're going back to your hotel for a meal, so you have stuff there. What are some things that, I mean, you touched on snacks, but let's get even more detailed on this.
Yeah, so when the kids were younger and we had a stroller with the stroller baskets and compartments, which are so fantastic, we brought in a lot of food. And what we would usually do is bring in frozen Capri Suns or frozen water bottles to act as our ice pack. And we'd bring in things like Uncrustables or cold pizza. I know it's kind of controversial, but I am a huge cold pizza fan. So we'd have like pizza the night before, order extra, bring in baggies full of cold pizza. And Pringles is another one of our favorites to bring in because of the canister that they're in. And then those like hard granola bars that are like the Nature Valley brand, so
Hmm.
that they're not melting. And those are messy. And so, they
Yeah.
have crumbs everywhere, but the ducks really enjoy that at Disneyland. We bring also those powders that you can mix in a bottle of water. So I do
Yes.
like Powerade or Propel because my son is like, he hates drinking just plain water. And
Hmm.
then you have a $5 drink right there in front of you instead of buying it at Disneyland. And it's so compact to bring those little powders.
Yeah.
Things like trail mix or trail mix that doesn't have as much of the chocolate in it so they don't melt.
Hmm.
Crackers, dried fruit. Of course, you want to avoid things that are going to get smashed. And there's always someone that puts like a banana in there and, thinking they're going to eat it, but then it's this bruised and beaten poor banana. So eat that before you get in the parks. What's
Yes.
in your cooler, Becca?
So, of course, like my family, we do a mixture. Sometimes we bring a small cooler that we can take into the parks, and sometimes we use a big cooler. And so, if we are using a big cooler and like doing like a full lunch out in the picnic area, we'll bring sandwich meats and cheeses and grapes and all that kind of stuff. And then we'll have a separate bag that's like the dry foods with bread and then our utensils and plates and paper towels and stuff. So we do that, but if we bring a small cooler, it's like we really are a cheese family, so we have a lot of cheeses. We'll put granola bars in there because my kids only like the ones that have, you know, the chewy ones. So we put those in there to keep them from melting. We bring a lot of, like wheat thins and things. And you can, if you don't want to spend the money for like small bags, just buy a big bag and bring Ziploc bags and separate them. And then you don't have to worry about rolling up a bag and, keeping it of a big bag. But we do that a lot and we use the picnic area a lot. And if you want to do that, if you have a large cooler, you will need to use the picnic area and I love the picnic area. I don't know if you've ever used it. I mean, I know you've used it because
Yeah.
I've put you shared a locker there with you before, but the lockers in the picnic area are really big. Like the larger ones can fit a suitcase in them.
Right.
And then if you don't need that much space, and you want to take a small cooler, but you don't want to carry it around all day, you can use the lockers either in the Esplanade or there's some in each park towards the entrance that you can use. One thing you touched on is how you use like your Capri Suns and stuff as to make ice packs, like you freeze them if you can. And
Hmm.
not all hotels have freezers, so that's not always an option to
True.
use ice packs or frozen things. So what we did in June when we did not have a freezer option is we took a gallon Ziploc bag and we put inside another gallon Ziploc bag so it was like doubled up.
Hmm.
And then we filled that with ice because you can't take loose ice into the park, zipped it up, put it in the middle of this backpack cooler we used. And then after we ate our lunch, we took that and it was like ice water and we just refilled our reusable water bottles with them because we were done with the cooler and we'd eaten
Perfect.
everything and it worked out perfect. So that is another option. And I know we talked a lot about like a lock. I just talked a lot about a locker, and then you're talking about foods and all this stuff, and that you can almost start to feel like, oh, this is getting expensive. But I can guarantee you the locker and the price of the food you're buying at a store and bringing it in is still saving you money if that's your goal
Yes.
from eating a full meal in the park. Nothing wrong with eating a full meal in the park, but if you are trying to save money or you're trying to, you know, eat a certain diet that you don't want to try and figure out while you're in the park, that's a great way to go. So I think we gave our listeners a good peek of our Disney Parks bags today. Is there anything else that you might want to mention, either from experience or that we've talked about in the Disneyland with Kids Facebook group a lot?
Yes, actually. And again, I want to thank Julie from Mom Rewritten, one of our co-founders of Disneyland with Kids. She had provided the bullet points and talking points for me for this episode. And one thing that she wanted to include, I'm just going to read from her experience. Now, a lot of people in the Disneyland with Kids Facebook group talk about keeping their toddlers safe, and they talk about the harnesses or the wrist leash. So, Julie has actually used those with her younger kids and found it to be a great help. She says, I used a backpack with my daughter that had a strap attached to the back. She would wear the backpack and I would loop the end of the strap around my wrist. My daughter loved having a few things in her tiny backpack, and we usually kept a diaper and pack of wipes, a snack, and her sipper cup in there. It was also able to help her walk around the parks with us and stand in line without fear of running off. So
That's
thanks for
awesome.
Julie for reminding us about that. And please, if this sounds like it's going to work for you, do it. Judgment should be out the window at Disneyland because we are all coming into this place with new experiences and different family dynamics. And, most of the time when I see parents having a hard time with their kids or whatever is going on, I just smile and keep going because it's happened to all of us in one
Mhm.
way or another.
That's right. And with the leashes, as a lot of people call them, or I always say it's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. So if you're on the fence about bringing it, just bring it. And if you don't end up using it, no, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you get there and you didn't bring it because you're worried about what people would think or say and you need it, then you're kind of SOL. So definitely just bring it. I mean, we brought one for our oldest when he was little. We didn't end up using it because he just wanted to hold the strap himself and lead himself around. But yeah, that's where I'm at with that, and that's how I've always felt about it. And we shouldn't. Yeah, you're right. We shouldn't be judging anyone else at Disney. Disney is a magical place, but it's also a challenging place when you are a
Right.
parent of a small child that wants to roam independently, even though they're only like two. So. All right, that's all we have time for today, but I do want to end with our traditional Disneyland Would You Rather. And this is a great one for you, Jessica, because you've been in both places because your kids are older now. Would you rather go to Disneyland with young kids where you need more stuff, but you have the stroller to tote your stuff around, or with older kids that are hopefully, not needing as much stuff, but you most likely will have to end up carrying it in one backpack.
Yeah, I I think I do the older, and I'm laughing because I have brought strollers to Disneyland when my kids did not use strollers just to have the space, and I'd park it. My favorite spot to park is by Buzz Lightyear in Tomorrowland, and I'd leave it there all day and come back and forth for stuff. And it is an option. It's called the free locker option. Of course, you don't want to leave valuables in there, but we'd leave snacks and stuff. Um, but now sometimes I'll carry the backpack with me all day. I find the hardest thing about the backpack is not so much the weight, is the extra heat that it brings.
Yes.
Like
Oh,
you're just
yes.
sweating and you're like, okay, I'm done with this. But if I had to and I wasn't using a locker, I would choose older and backpack. What about you?
Okay. So I'm in an interesting place because we've never gone to Disney without a stroller since having kids because, we had my oldest and then we had twins, which kind of pushed him out of a stroller earlier than he probably wanted to be. We were going to go without a stroller in June, but we stayed far enough away that the walk to the parks would have worn my kids out. So we got one, but we're not going to get one this next trip. So it'll be interesting to see. And, I think I'm going to be okay with no stroller because my husband's going to end up being the pack mule. So,
Sounds good.
and those that are listening, you can't see this, but I share an office with my husband right now because he's working from home. And he's giving me some dirty looks as I call him the pack mule. But, you know,
That's great.
Yeah, so we'll have to see. And I do have to put out one plea as we talked about this because you mentioned, if you don't want to get a locker, Disney, please add more lockers throughout the parks. That's my biggest issue with the locker is how and I get why they're located towards the fronts of the park, but it would be really nice to have an option like mid park or ends of parks because that's my biggest thing is like you get out there and you don't want to run all the way back to the locker, right? Like
Great
that's
point.
kind of a pain. So I wish they'd get some more lockers, maybe put them by like some popular spots with lots of tables. Wouldn't it be great if they just had a locker over in Paradise Garden Park where if you know you're going to be eating lunch in that area, you can
Ooh,
have that
yes.
there, or a locker over Tomorrowland has a lot of table seating, so over there near the
Let's just
grill.
do that with a Tomorrowland overhaul. We'll just
Yeah.
make sure that we get some futuristic cool lockers in there.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. Well, that's all we have time for. You've been listening to Jessica and Becca reveal what is inside of our Disneyland bags. If you want to know what other people are taking to Disneyland, join the Disneyland with Kids Facebook group and check it out there. And we will see you real soon.